Hello, people. Celebration from Russia, and with me today, my friend and classmate Stan from Königsberg. How are you?
Hello. Oh, all right. How are you?
Everybody in the chat. Morning Glory, Black Cat Productions, Henry Maldonado. Hello. Keep it flat. Yes. So we're gonna talk about several stuff today, but I think we're gonna start with San Francisco, and if we have time, we will continue on some other topics. Have you been to San Francisco, by the way?
Yeah, I have. Last time I was there in 2011, something like that.
2011.
Yeah,
Mm. Did
it
it
was.
already experience the so-called shithole regime?
In United States?
No, San Francisco itself, because they spend
Oh,
about several millions of dollars of just collecting crap on the streets. Nowadays,
uh, no, I don't remember.
human excrements. I mean,
Okay,
a
no,
bunch
there
of people
was.
there, a bunch of homeless people there, just doing it all on the streets, and they just can't do anything with it, just collecting all and spending budget on it each day, each year.
Okay, okay. No, well, not 10 years ago.
Mm. Well, when I was there, it was like 1995. It was place like a very flourishing place. I liked it very much. It was I spent like 3 days there, and it was like May or something, and pretty cool weather. Although uh, the coder's summer, the coder's winter is summer in San Francisco, is what they say. It was pretty warm, uh, and yeah, one day it was windy, so the weather is kind of special for this place, and people call it, yeah, very unpredictable.
Yeah, when I was there, it was like middle of August, I suppose, and I visited my friends in Sacramento, and it was really hot, like 40 degrees Celsius. I don't
You don't know
really.
Fahrenheit.
I don't, it will take time to convert, but it was really hot. Like you wear shorts and t-shirt, and all sweaty, and my friends told me that we're going to San Francisco, and they asked if I had like a jacket and jeans. I said, "What's going on?" So we just drove for about a couple hours, and completely different weather and climate. It was funny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, what want to talk about 1906, as I've been watching a video of one Russian vlogger. He was let me just well let me start with my presentation first. Then we go to Russian vlogger and watch the footage that he collected and his ideas.
Okay.
Or maybe we just switch from one to another. I don't know how it's gonna go. I just want to present it to you guys, and Stan as one of the viewers is just like you, gonna ask questions for you, and maybe we'll keep track of that a little bit more specific on what was happening, and will be more clear for everybody. Okay,
Yep. All right.
let's see. Now we see the screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I will just go to that thing. Um, let's see. So on April 18, 18 of April 1906 at 5:12 a.m., a strong earthquake with a magnitude of somehow 8.3 Richter occurred in San Francisco. So at that time, they didn't even measure, actually. They didn't have this Richter scale. That the biggest is 9. 9 points. So this was 8.3, up to 8.3 is what they calculated later,
Okay.
like maybe, I don't know, in 30s, in 40s, I don't know. So it lasted about 40 seconds, but led to complete or partial destructions of 80% of the city buildings. But this is kind of questionable, and you're gonna understand what I'm talking about later. Uh, but as what they calculate officially, and many residents were thrown out of their beds. They didn't even have time to understand what was going on. So, as what they say, it was 40 seconds, right? So maybe quite enough time to wake up, grab whatever, right? Just imagine yourself in such experience. What would you do, right? And some of the buildings were actually multi-story buildings, and had like 2 3 floors at least. So it took time to go down the street, I believe. So, and that was kind of dramatic is what I would think about it. So many residents were thrown out of the beds and didn't even have time to understand what was going on. Although around 500 victims were officially reported, today it's believed that up to 3,000 people died. Actually, they have some issues with those calculations, but that's not the point of my actually presentation. So about 300,000 residents lost their homes at the same time. Some calculate about 200,000, but some calculate around 300,000. So it's not, because it had some commercial property. So not every construction was a private construction. I mean the residence construction. The total damage was estimated at 40 million, more than 6.2 billion at the current exchange rate. So, but not very big damage, but I doubt that 6.5 billion of current exchange rate. I mean, maybe it was the pre 2019 exchange rate, but right now it's like, I mean, could be like even 20 billion, because all these materials, the inflation and all these, prices on metal, construction, work, everything, like logistics skyrocketed, and supply skyrocketed. So I believe it's like maybe even more at current exchange rate. So let's go further. So this is how it looks like, because they say just immediately after the earthquake, some fires got started. Some say that the residents were disappointed that their property was destroyed, like cracks on the walls and stuff like this, but they were not insured for that. So I mean, they didn't have a complete insurance. I don't know, and so some of them started to burn their own houses, just to get the insurance, or future, compensation for that. And yeah, is what they say literally, as you can see, this is after the fire was done. So the area is completely devastated. You don't see any houses, except that some of that were brick houses, and even them look very destroyed. Okay, some people actually believe that they were using direct energy weapons to ignite those fires, but uh, we just skip that for a moment, because we have more decent explanations for now. And um, fires are fair enough, because my research shows that 19th century teams, they were led in they were directing the destruction of ancient artifacts. Ancient constructions were called bomberos, you know and they had the practice of burning and blowing stuff up. But something, it looks like they were using nuclear weapons or something, because Hiroshima and other cities like Nagasaki, they had something like this. So completely devastated, only brick brick houses left some walls or something. So, well, that would be actually everybody would hear a huge explosion then, and but nobody had anything like this. So I stick to the official fire theory because it's more legit for now, at least. So as you can see, all the windows, everything is destroyed, empty windows everywhere, rubble, all this stuff. Maybe only some very firm and solid buildings were left. I don't know if actually some of them got restored or how they restored that. It's a further topic of investigation. But my points will be presented a little bit later. Even some buildings, as we can see, with some sort of decline on the street and maybe some underground floors. But still, we don't have enough proof to say that right now. Just looking at this, you know, some streets in San Francisco actually look like downhill streets, right?
Yeah.
So this is not just the case to say if that was a mud flooded building or not. So we cannot say that because it's already 20th century and the footage is from 20th century. So it's definitely after the mud flood period. But we cannot say exactly about this construction right here. And some people actually look some kind of sad, their heads are down. So what are they actually? Disappointed? Not sure about that. Also, another view. So this is all after fire was done. This is during the fire. As what they say, extinguishing fire was impossible because all these earthquake shocks destroyed the system of water supply. And they didn't have enough water to put the fires down. Okay. Some pictures of those cracks. Some cracks were up to 8 meters wide, and they were even reporting a tsunami at certain areas, but I didn't find any evidence of that, except that only a mentioning of report, but not the exact report. So we can trust it or not, but well, we'll later talk about that. What they've calculated about the 8.2, 8.3 Richter scale earthquake is because of this footage of those trains, because scientists, geologists, I don't know who, seismologists calculated that this impact of a, a steam train to be leaning on the side or knocked on the side is only with that strength of magnitude, right? So possibly it's true that the magnitude was around 8 of Richter scale, 8 points Richter scale. But as I was saying in previous videos about 19th century footage or photographs, I was talking about stage photographs everywhere. So all these photographs have signs of being staged and somehow, and that could be explained, but that's only coincidental evidence. We cannot rely on it completely to say that every photograph was staged. But some coincidental evidence shows that We can say that in some cases, and like this case, for example, so people were just taking photo, and that photo was used as an evidence to say or claim that this earthquake was of such magnitude. So believe it or not, this is only thing they are based on: the cracks, the tsunami report, and some footage of what was knocked down. So what we have, the earthquake occurred at 5 a.m. while people were still sleeping. The force of the destruction was colossal at out 8 points out of 9, so almost complete scale. There were terrible fires from which there was heat and acrid smoke. And due to the shift of soil, the system of water supply, communication, and rail transport was disrupted, as what they say officially. But look what we have here. This is after the fire was put up, so people started to walk around. Streets are already pretty clean, is what you see. So all the trash was swept to the side, and the road is pretty clean, right? And people look pretty clean too. They don't look like dirty refugees that lost their homes and stuff like this.
Dressed up.
And they look pretty fancy, as what I can say. Hats, clothes, kids over here. We can see a kid here. So who would have taken kid into this city that full of ruins for no reason, right? So they're kind of walking around, looking around. I don't know what they're actually doing. Maybe this is a delegation of some sort. So that's why I say there's some signs of being staged. All this, it looks like a report of some sort, right? And some crisis actors, whatever you call them, on the background. But we can say that for sure. This is just my concern. Let's take a look at another footage. And I agree with the vlogger from Russia who actually did this report and saying that all these people look suspicious. He probably didn't watch my videos and he doesn't even know that I exist. And he didn't see my two videos about photographs in 19th century where I was saying that a bunch of them look staged. And this also kind of looks staged. And why we say that? Why we can say that? Because, well, we can jump on that a little bit later. As you can see, nobody is doing anything on the side. Nobody's repairing anything. Nobody's cleaning up anything, cleaning up all this trash. People just walking around, looking around. Somebody's sitting, smoking. I don't know what they do. So, what is actually suspicious that nobody does anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like an excursion, a trip or tour. Also here, some houses got leaned to the side. They're wooden houses, but nobody's doing actually anything. There's no special uh, teams, rescuers, or any. Just people just like looking. What is there? Maybe somebody's working there. I don't know. But some of these houses look that they have entrances on the second floor and some basement floors too. We can call them basement floors for now because we don't have enough evidence, but kind of looks suspicious to me that all these people just walking around playing like crisis actors. Also, maybe it's just rich neighborhood and people didn't get the fire, but what they're actually doing, they're watching the fire from the side, and I don't know what. Burning of San Francisco, morning, April 18, 06. And they don't look like refugees, right? They
No.
don't look like somebody that actually lost their houses or somebody, but maybe this is just a rich neighborhood that didn't get affected by anything, and people just, I don't know, out on the streets, because it say 80% of the houses were destroyed. So maybe these are inhabitants of the rich neighborhoods that didn't get affected of anything. Well, we can say that, but we can't. We are not sure actually. Also, here would it be nice to sit like this on a bench near the ruins and be taken as a picture. Also, kind of, what does it show? Somebody here doing what we don't know what they're actually doing, but they don't look like refugees either. The, the clothes are pretty clean, nothing is dusty. This lady over here also doesn't look very suspiciously refugee. She's not a refugee. I don't know. Okay, over here.
They're smiling.
Well, maybe a smiling because some of their houses are not affected by fire yet, and they're just stupid. But I'm not sure that people were as stupid as what they as our guys let like they doing selfies everywhere, and putting the camera on when they eat in restaurants, filming everything. Well, photograph is pretty expensive. You have to pay for it. So definitely a staged photograph here, is what I figure. These guys here, what are they doing? The faces are unrecognizable. We can say for sure. Probably these are the ladies, and maybe three ladies. Pretty clean clothes, looking pretty expensive, is what I can say. An antique type of ruins. I wonder if this one got restored. Also staged pictures. A guy here, searching for something. This is the first refugee type of guy that I found on the footage actually. But we can't say for sure the resolution is too low. But these folks are having a
Picnic.
dinner. Yeah. Yeah, on the background, all these epic ruins. And this fella from Russia, this logger says that it reminds him the Piranesi engravings. Have you seen any Piranesi engravings, by the way?
Well, maybe some.
Let me just stop this for now and show some Piranesi. Let's see. Maybe you have questions for now? Well, putting stuff up. Let's see.
Well, yeah, the pictures are looking pretty suspicious because people are really dressed up. You know, that's kind of strange. No panic. Nobody's running around.
Yeah. So this guy from Russia, TM Studio, says that it reminds him of Piranesi, where all those ruins, people doing, I don't know what actually, they don't seem to be the folks that constructed those buildings or have anything to do with construction or repairing. People just, These are paintings. These are not photographs, so we cannot say. But surely he, um, all these engravings are some illustrations of what he saw. We can only say that he was imagining all this stuff, right? But you know, it looks how it looks, so we cannot say for sure. And there's a bunch of ruinists who were actually painting strange ruins everywhere. So I hope you got it clear. So let's jump to the footage here. Do you see it?
Yeah.
So this was recorded as what they say 4 days prior to the event, actually, this earthquake. And as you can see, the city is full of life, a bunch of cars, a bunch of people. Nobody cares about anything, just crossing the streets. Cars are doing U-turns in front of horse carriages and all these, stagecoaches. And so, as what they say in explanation, the film records a total of 30 cable cars, 4 horse cars, and 4 street cars. So cable cars are basically these tramways or whatever you call it, but they have this cable in the middle of the rail track, which is pulling the car. Horse car, what's horse cars, and 4 street cars. Street cars, uh, at first, they also appear to be many automobiles. However, a careful tracking shows that almost all of the autos circle the camera many times, one of them 10 times. This traffic was apparently staged by the producer to give Market Street the appearance of a prosperous, modern boulevard with many automobiles. In 1905, the automobile was still something of a novelty in San Francisco, with horse drawn buggies, carts, vans, and wagons being the common private and business vehicles. The near total lack of traffic control lack of traffic control along Market Street emphasizes the newness of automobile. So that's why that's what they explain. But anyways, they were filming it just prior to the case. And then we jump to another video.
I saw this video before, and I can confirm that many vehicles just go round and round.
Yeah, the bicycle
Those,
people, just
those
bunch of actors
yeah,
that are
totally
following
staged.
following this wagon car or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And so this is the footage after the fire. As also saying, the people just walking around, nobody's doing anything. Everybody in clean clothes, white shirts, kids, ladies, everybody. Somebody's walking one direction, somebody's walking the opposite direction. Look how many people there. And everybody could be just like in that footage, just circling to get inside the frame of the video.
Yeah.
And nobody doing any excavations, reparations, nothing. Nobody's searching for dead bodies, for corpses. Nobody's caring about any epidemia, because it could be cholera or anything, right? In this case, like 3,000 people died.
Yeah.
Nobody found any corpses yet. They could be inside the ruins. Nobody cares. Look at them. This is totally staged footage, is what I figure. Of course, it's a coincidental evidence, and we cannot say for sure. We cannot question the narrative because we are not highly qualified and officially budgeted scientists, right?
Yep. Well, seems like they're not in a rush, just slowly walking around, looking.
Yeah, they probably got paid for this walk-in, and so they walk. Probably these people, some of them are refugees, but we don't see any in the front view. Everybody who's in the front view is looking like actors and acting like actors. At least it's the footage that what we see. Okay, there's another interesting footage, a bunch of them actually. But I don't see any works on the side, like people, moving stuff. Look, they said the transportation system was damaged. And look, everything
Yeah.
works. So either not anything, everything was damaged, or I don't know. There's a bunch of guys in white shirts. They don't look like refugees, right? They look fancy dressed, expensive dressed people.
They look like investors.
Oh, there's somebody with a bag, but not very big one. Another small bag. So nobody looks like refugees. Refugees, like they, they have everything on their backs. Like they pull in those chairs. I don't know, tables, carpets, everything that's left, right?
Well, they didn't have much time to pack, and it all happened in 5 a.m. And
No, this just
people.
4 days later because the fire was 4 days. It's
Okay,
like
but you
maybe
still need to get some clothes. If 80% of buildings were destroyed, you have to get inside to get your clothes. Where would you get the neat ones? The clean
yeah,
ones.
that's a guy with the case. So mostly nobody carries anything. Empty hands, right? And no works at all. Look, a family. Water, nothing. Like a guy on a bicycle. Look, this guy standing alone on the ruins. What is he doing actually? He's posing, right? Just to be captured in the frame. Somebody has to be on the side, so they put some people on the side to look to make it look more massive. Well, perfectly directed, I would say, perfectly, because nobody actually had an eye to see that before.
Do you know
Look
how
at
many
this.
people?
Look at this. Refugees with the white shirts.
Yeah, how many people lived in San Francisco that days? Do you know?
400,000.
400,000.
Yep. And around 300,000 people lost their homes.
Okay.
This antique type of columns everywhere is what I figure. So some houses could be the pre-flood houses, and now evidence is destroyed. Like every time before, we've had this case in Chicago. We had many places actually where complete devastation and fires hidden all the evidence. So these guys, what are they pretending? They're gonna ride somewhere with this speed, like a person nearby walks with the same speed. Would you, This looks like, they're just playing their roles. So a bunch of footage. One people go in one direction and some people go in another direction. So doesn't look like a flow of refugees or people that are busy with something. This looks like an ordinary street life or stage event. Look at what they are doing right now. They're watching the buildings get demolished. So all these antique type of buildings, the leftovers of them getting destroyed by explosives. So there's a bunch of this footage. Well, that could be explained that they wanted to clean up the place, and but also, on the other hand, you can say that they were destroying what's left of what they couldn't have destroyed at first. There's another frame that we can have to stop because some people think that no, electricity was wireless back in the days. No, we can see these are clear wired posts of maybe electric and maybe telephone. Who knows? 1906. And this one is actually interesting. He found this. I also saw this video on YouTube. What he's saying, like, look, the start of filming, you you mostly don't see anyone at all. Like some empty streets, nobody. Like some people, like starting to appear on the right. Two horse carriages here. Well, mostly empty, right? This looks like a aftermath of the event actually, but something starts to appear here. Look, this black thing in the center of the footage.
It's like a crowd.
In cinema we call it in movie production we call it masovka. It's like people in the background, the crisis actors. So everybody concentrated in one place, and that's where life starts again. Everything starts to boil. These people starts to walk around. Look at this, just like at that footage that we see on the market street prior to the event. Everything starts to move.
Yeah, that's
Guys,
strange.
well, very interesting case. Very interesting case. Well, you saw my point, right?
Yep.
Let's get back to my presentation.
Are there any pictures or videos of the refugee camps? Like
Yeah, I'm gonna show some.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm. Can you see
Because
anything?
yeah, 3/4 of people left without the houses.
Yeah. There's another, point. Uh, like Piranesi, this guy could be also, as you can see, he's painting the ruins. So post reset painters, post reset documentation, and he is actually playing a part of this composition, because there's the footage where nobody actually is present, and there's footage with the person who is doing his painting. Okay.
Yeah.
So just like this, just like this, just like this. And there we go. We have some refugees. This is a provision line. I'm not actually sure, was this place inside of San Francisco and was it destroyed? But it looks pretty safe to me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a year after. Who knows? So everything's already clean. People don't seem to be pretty much complicated with anything except that they are standing in a line for provision. And there we go, the refugee camp. So they even remain some addresses of where those camps were located, and there were several camps. Another one. And two more. This one looks pretty big.
Well, not enough to fit 3/4 of the city.
Well, we cannot say that they filmed or didn't film anything, or how much footage actually they were they were available to do. We can only see what we see. There's another camp. Let's go Army Hospital. Well, Army is always present at these places because it's like emergency state. So, and some cooks, they were probably feeding somebody, but we're not sure actually what they were doing. Maybe it's just feeding the soldiers, not the refugees. And the only footage of construction something after the fire that I found is this. It's actually a bunch of horse carriages with the wood and supplies for constructors. But I don't see any, major works here too. Also, some guys. This can be, just a part of what they were. They were saying that they completely rebuilt the San Francisco in several years. Also, this picture is related to the case, but I don't see any location in the description, and nobody actually figured where it was filmed. So that could be, might as well, any footage from anywhere, and just add it up to see how it goes, because you know and this is several years after 1915. That's the exposition that San Francisco was hosting, and it had a bunch of footage there about that. And some people even think that was a major construction, but as what they say, it was all created from wood. And so who actually knows? But that's whole another topic. Somebody will tell you that everything was anti-construction, and then it got destroyed because it was just well, we can only speculate on that. Let's see. I also wanted to show this footage. Let me find it. Okay. Also, people staring at the fire. Sacramento Street in San Francisco. Let's see another one. The aftermath, all these cracks, aerial view, refugees near their tents, the aftermath, some house that was leaned. Also, some guys created a shelter from some material that they found. Another footage of walking around, people doing nothing. Howard Street. I just, I can't imagine how these folks could be, walking around all these ruins in such clothes. I don't think it's practical, but a stage footage is a stage footage. We can only guess how it was actually. But some houses, some buildings are pretty safe, as what you can see. So not everything was destroyed. Okay. Only if you Google reconstruction San Francisco, you don't find much too. But what we have is what we have.
Do you have any idea what actually happened there? Do you have a? Yeah.
Well, if we go to this bay view, also see that all the city is completely destroyed. But actually, some of this area was recently, it was buried. So it was a huger bay here, and they just sunk some ships there, is what they say. So all this, bay was flooded with traders ships, and so they won't, pay for all these old ships that were just, put to the bottom of the sea, because to the bottom of the bay, and later somebody, I cannot explain. We have to find the official explanation for that. So all this place is put and built on the ships. So as they excavate, they find that excavation San Francisco ships. Yeah, what they find actually is they find, it's the map of ships that they found.
Okay.
While reconstructing this or that building, they find in ships in the bottom.
Okay.
Sunken ships buried with mud and clay, just what we have in the mud flood. As what they say, they did it on purpose. And I don't know if we can zoom in or anything. Well, you guys can figure that out by yourself actually, and do your search. But what I'm saying, all this area was a sunken ships, and priorly it was a bay area. Also, what is interesting there? There's some other stuff like Chinatown, Alcatraz, right? What else? All these hills everywhere. So, as what I've been saying, a mud flood can actually be created by the mud volcanoes, or mining procedures that were done before that, and this drilling can create the view of a mud volcano,
Mm.
like all this pressured gas and stuff like this, and mud will just flow like a fountain if you drill a hole at certain level. It's well-known fact, so you can do that and practice, and you'll find some layers that have water, some layers have mud, some layers have gas, some layers might have oil, right? So just the construction of soils.
Mm.
Well, that's my point. So my point is that San Francisco is not that very simple, and they probably had some constructions that were pre-mud flood constructions, right? And so that could be a reason of this thing. Let me also show you one more thing. Let's see. I found this footage in Facebook, like a depiction of an earthquake and a fire and tsunami, just like we had in San Francisco. Um, and this short article, I don't know where they cut it from. I didn't find the original. To make an artificial earthquake, chemistry furnishes a method of making artificial earthquakes, which shall have a great effect on the natural ones, and as may illustrate the process of nature in the production of the terrible phenomena underground, we here inserted. Provide 18 to 20 pounds of sulfur and as much of the fillings of iron, make them into the confidence of pasty with common water. I don't know. So some container of water, mix it all together. This being buried underground in 8 or 10 hours time will vomit flames and cause the earth to tremble all around the place to a considerable distance. Such is the effect of even two cold bodies in the cold ground. There only wants a sufficient quantity of this mixture to produce a real Etna. Etna is a volcano
Mm.
in Italy. In Italy, if it were supposed to burn out under the sea, it would produce a water spout, and in the clouds, the effect would be thunder and lightning. So let's see. So what I'm saying, they could be created and artificially, and represent um, the willingness of these bombero teams, is what I call them, those bomberos, to erase the evidence of ancient constructions and mud flooded buildings, you know, and via this reconstruction, totally, demolish all these buildings that are left after the fire, and this is how they solve this problem, because the city was influenced by Ross, you know, definitely, because it was a bay area, definitely was logistic area. Spaniards were there, Russians were there prior to 19th century, as what they say. Fort Ross was nearby. So, by the way, San Francisco has a bunch of immigrants from Soviet Union and Russia, so that kind of also suspicious why they would want to go there. Actually, there were no Silicon Valley, and they still were there. Right now, a bunch of people who in IT specialists go there because of Silicon Valley. But back in the 90s, what would they do actually in San Francisco? There's a bunch of more less expensive cities actually in America, as you know, and it would not very practical to go to San Francisco with this such crazy climate in comparison to the rest of California, right?
Oh, gold rush.
Sacramento, gold rush, yeah, but Russians from Soviet Union and gold rush is different period. So just because it has Russian traditions and even has some Russians, people they're stuck from the Russian empire is what they say, from this Russian trade, Alaska and all this, West Coast thing that Russians kind of sold or leased to America in the 19th century, actually.
Okay.
So could it be the operation of demolition and erasing the evidence of prior civilization? Yes, it possibly could. Could it all be staged as a footage? Yes, it possibly could, because they even admit that they're staging the filming of the Market Street footage. So let's go to questions, people, if we have any questions. And by the way, all these German cities like, Dresden, you name it, actually, Berlin, Königsberg, everything was demolished, bombed to the ground, right? Bunch of Russians, like St. Petersburg, was artillery and bombed, targeted for 2 years or even more, right? So many traces um, of hits and explosions on the walls are still left, and they're like even tagging them with these tablets and saying that this is one of some thousand strikes that our city received. So have you seen that in St. Petersburg?
No,
Well, there's a bunch
maybe
of this.
I didn't pay attention
Yeah,
before.
so some buildings have them on the walls and like, struck of explosion or cannonball, whatever you call it,
Mm.
bomb. Well, so many comments, guys. So incredible. I haven't seen so many people for a while. Um, well, I bet I cannot, handle all this comments section. Well, seriously, people, you wrote so many comments. Well, anyways, also wanted to talk about some other stuff. Let me find that. I want to talk about fluidoids because we had the conversation in on Facebook, and people were asking me what are fluidoids. Also related to is what I figure to, let's see, to mining, possible mining of ancient times. Mm, first one is not about fluidoid. First one is fake news that I found. Look at this picture. They even have a circle inside. Let's see. Called teen. T.I.N.E. Tin in Russian is something like a debris, tina, like what you have on a swamp. This, mud and vegetation, which is totally swallowing you. I don't know. This guy is a Polish artist, and they were presenting this footage on Facebook as the original footage that is depicting a mud flood in Krakow, uh, one of the biggest and most ancient Polish towns. Also, Krakow is related to word corona, crown. It's just the same old word. But I found that this is actually a depiction, art depiction, and he is describing it like this. The earliest images were abstract surface paintings followed by historical motifs executed in golden brown dark tones. The motifs were lost in long shadows, almost dissolving into romantic, evocative London, but at the same time retained in the presence that the bold layers of color helped to create. In the 90s, the pictures look different. The London still emerges from dark historical scenes. The seemingly identifiable places and eras are challenged by cryptic interventions as words that cannot be immediately encoded into pictorial context, or as in a special pressure, the water that creeps up over the Krakow prospect, and together with the enigmatic delineation of the particular locality raises questions about where we are, dream or awake. With quite simple interventions, the past is made contemporary. So this guy definitely knows something about mudflat, is what I figure. But um, this is not evidence of the mudflat. Maybe his attempt to show that he knows about it, but that's just the art. And it was painted in 1993, and people presented it as an official footage of 1813. Just believe me, there's so many people spreading bullshit. I might actually go on this topic in the mudflat bullshit very soon. Well, let's go back to the list of fluidoids. Mm. So this guy is talking about many geology and has a bunch of articles. Um, so that's who led me to fluidoids topic and what are fluidoids and how they look when they are dry. They look like this. So many commercials. Look at this, and this is the fluidoid, and somebody even can present it to you as an ancient giant tree, guys, or I don't know, a melted building. But all this stuff came from underground, and it has a track and could be trackable, and it's different from the material that you find on the surface. Huge rocks that could be found as megalithic rocks are actually also fluidoids that came from underground. And this geology, this is alternative geology. It's not mainstream, and but it's working. It's working because this concept, this theory works, and they actually present it in different websites, writing those articles, putting up those schemes, how it can be possible for them to break through uh, all the way up and create those, you know, geological anomalies. Okay, and what I've been saying is that those guys were drilling big time when they were mining, because mining is always drilling, because you have to find water. For example, where do you find it? Underground. If you don't have water, you don't have, you know, you always have this problem where to supply all these people that are working, right? So, and also this guy Holodov, he has this scientific work on the nature of mud volcanoes, and he writes a bunch of things. Obviously, when a sand formation enters the area of decomposition of ultra high pore pressures, it turns into quicksand. Quicksand, you know, like зыбучие пески.
Yeah.
Yeah, quicksand where you can drown. Uh, but quicksand can also be, represented as some, liquid mud. Plasticity of sandstone and clay levels off. So clay levels and sandstones, and they both deform as very plastic and similar formations. So when they form, they look like plastic and can find this shape. Sometimes the difference in pore pressure in clays and sandstone is so great that their contact leads to brighter hydraulic fractures. Under enormous pressure, the liquefied sand is injected into the cracks, fills them, and after the compression, it's cemented with components dissolved in the pulp. So this is how they explain a bunch of things. And what we see on the Google Earth, and these tracks of something like flowing mud, that could be actually the reason, because all these breakthroughs through the upper crust, whatever you call it, of the land, could be performed by ancient miners who actually priorly to that drilled all these plays, conducted the research, what contains what. Have you heard about so-called hydraulic mining? Have you heard about textile mining, when they pour all this mud into those so-called sandbags, and they have a valve to dry this sandbag to collect all this with the type of elements that they want to collect from this mud. They collect it,
Yeah.
and all this mud stays in the sandbag, and it looks like a block, like a megalithic block.
Yeah.
And those sandbags, even they put on each other, like creating those um, layers of masonry. I've been showing that in some of my videos. So what I'm saying is all this could be related to mining, and these processes, they remind me of very bad, or maybe just lack of actual managing of those wells that were left after the mining, because those miners are left, nobody's left behind, those people got reset, new people arrive, they don't know what's actually going on, and they find those mud volcanoes everywhere, record them as mud volcanoes, and that's it. So, and they've been told about earthquakes, fires, and everything. They can be told about anything, because they're just recently arrived people, new
Mm.
people. This is how all 19th century looks like this in most of the areas, maybe even Britain, but I haven't been researching Britain well enough. But some countries like Russia have evidence of excavations, a bunch of this stuff, and all this mud can come from underground. Easy.
Okay.
Any questions?
Yeah. So what? Oh,
Red bricks have been found to conduct electricity, and when they have to an electric charge go through them and turn to a different color, usually blue. Apparently, so much of the rhenium in is red bricks. Well, I have a video about that, and it's called red brick capacitors or something. So energy storing technology in red bricks. They have
mm,
found this technology to create energy capacitors inside of red bricks material right now. Is what I've been saying. The ancient red bricks are looking even more solid than the current one, or even comparable to current one. And red brick production is very technological. It's not just finding clay somewhere. It's supposed to be fine clay. It's very fine. and it has a bunch of procedures, including different temperatures that's supposed to be kept somehow with some type of fuel, some type of people that know what to do. Actually, it's not something like out on the side of a field you can create a red brick factory, right? So many red bricks were used in construction, so I doubt that they were doing it custom type. So they probably were doing some type of factories, and they had to do this technological way. So why don't they use also this nanotechnology to store some charge to keep those buildings, for example, heated in winter? Because they don't see they don't seem to have any heating systems in those buildings. All those ancient churches, they don't have double doors. They are not, designed for winters at all. So how did they hit such huge, thick walls in the winter? You're supposed to have so many energy, but I don't know. With all this
Mm,
knowledge of atmospheric technology, that you have the elevation of electrical charge that could be captured as as high as you can reach, and you can ground it and get the charge like plasma charge. I even showed it in one of my videos, and a guy even sent me original footage of his experiment with the balloon put up in the sky, and all these wires, sticking from the balloon to the ground, and he measured the electrical charge. It was pretty big one. So if you go way up there, as where cathedrals and churches have these tops of the roofs, right? So all the spikes and spires and all this stuff. So they all
mm,
could be collectors of the charge, and the rag bricks itself were collecting it and keeping it, storing it to use in further, you know, in further maintenance.
okay.
Because you don't have any evidence of people even bothering about heaters or something. Nobody had it. All this stuff that were, people walking around those ancient abandoned churches and find that all those heating systems were made as out of the project. So it made after the building was constructed.
Mm. So the technology was lost at some point.
Probably the climate just changed. That's the
Okay.
best explanation I've got. But definitely, if that is possible to store this energy and now it's not working, either we don't have the you know the access to this technology, obviously, or they don't give it to us. So it's one of the two possible explanations.
Okay.
Yes, spires collect. You wanted to ask something?
Uh, I forgot already.
I'm trying to read the comments. Guys, you're so good today. Especially Kate Emma, she flooded the chat with so many comments. Liquefaction. No, liquefaction, guys, doesn't work at all. I've been saying it tons of times. Liquefaction makes houses crack and collapse. But all these houses in Moscow, where we have a bunch of muddled evidence, don't have any cracks. All these houses in St. Petersburg, they were bombed, burned, you know, shot at, but they don't have, major, construction defects. So all of them were restored. All these ancient, huge constructions that were built prior to the 19th century. But some buildings are lost, of course. We cannot say that totally every building is safe from the 18th century, but we don't find any buildings from 17th century either. No buildings from 16th century, like some buildings from 15th century, like three or four, and that's it. That's the whole 1,000 years of Russian history and official narrative. Moscow is don't have much buildings left from that period. I'm not sure if Kaliningrad has 17th century buildings.
Well, I started to get information on that, and I couldn't find many buildings. Actually, I have some points on the map where I want to go and film it. Um, but I guess it's something like 18th, maybe 17th century. I have to check. I found these old maps of Königsberg, and I just want to go around those places to see if anything is still on its place, and find
Yeah,
some old photos.
would be
So
great.
I will do it sometime in the closest future.
Yeah, I hope it was pretty informative. Don't want to mess up your Friday, guys. So thanks a lot for everybody to come who came and stick around for further information. I'll be making more videos soon. As you've seen, we were pretty active. Go to the video section of my channel. You find that you probably missed a bunch of videos because they don't have like 1,000 views, 2,000 views. This is ridiculous for such channel as mine. People just don't receive notifications. People get canceled of subscription. People can't find new people can't find me on the search results that have been shown in different videos. So thanks for everybody for coming and see you guys later.
Yeah.